there's a connection between family and the gospel that really needs to be understood. And that is that God decided sovereignly to reveal himself through family language. You've seen this. If you've ever told somebody, hey, God's a father, and Jesus came to reveal God as a father, but let's say they had a really tough relationship with their father. That's really hard for them to hear. It's hard for them to hear that as good news, right? The gospel means good news. Is it good news that God's a father? Well, in a first century Jewish and Roman culture, that's really good news. The fathers, they were exceptionally gifted. And I've spent my life studying first century family, and man, it was a very different thing than what we have today. And so that was really good news when Jesus came and said that about the father. This is why Jesus' stories about guys like in the prodigal son story, these fathers who were extremely invested in their family, who saw their entire life as being a part of a multi-generational family, that they get to have sons and daughters. This was what they loved. And so the idea that wow, God's my father. Ooh, what good news. Is that good news in our culture? Right? Is that what happens when the enemy somehow destroys our understanding of fatherhood? Or Jesus, his favorite title for himself was son. He loved to talk about himself as the Son of Man, the Son of God. Well, we don't even know what that means anymore. Like when you hear the word son, mostly in our culture, we think of like an 8-year-old kid. That was not what they thought about in the first century. When they heard the word son, they're like, that's the heir. That's the representative of the father, right? That's why Jesus told that story about the tenant with the vineyard, and he leaves and then sends servants, and they keep beating up the servants and kicking them out of the vineyard. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to send my son. They will respect my son because this is the heir. And that's what they said when they saw the son coming. There's the heir. That's when we heard in Isaiah, like we sing at Christmas time, unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. Those are not the same thing. A son is something different. But I don't think we understand what that is. Is that good news? When you tell people, like, you get to be a child of God, you get to be a son, like, what does that mean to you? Well, again, this has been totally distorted. We don't even know what that means anymore. Culturally, it's been corrupted. And so this doesn't sound like good news. Or think about the church. Jesus came to reveal the church as we're like brothers and sisters, It's like having 100 times more. Jesus says in Mark 10, when the rich young ruler is having this conversation, and the rich young ruler walks away sad, and then the disciples are like, well, what about us? And so Jesus tried to encourage the disciples by saying, hey, if you follow me, you'll get 100 times more mothers and sisters and brothers and fields, which means businesses, and houses, and persecutions, and in the age to come, eternal life. In this age, you're going to get 100 times more siblings. Is that good news? I mean, when you think about siblings, like in that culture, there's a great book if you want to understand first century sibling relationships. It's a very scholarly deep dive into this question. It's called When the Church Was a Family. And I read it recently, and it really affected me because basically he's unpacking the fact that you cannot imagine how deep sibling relationships, they were the deepest relationships that existed in the first century. When your sister got married, like you as a brother would maintain a lifelong, extremely tight bond with that. And so even if this is really what protected women from abuse. A lot of times we don't understand this today. You would have to answer to that father and those brothers. They loved their sister. Like these sibling relationships were incredibly deep. They were lifelong commitments. And today we're like, oh, my brother, my sister, they're kind of annoying. Like we need to that is so, how is that good news? To hear that the church is like, wow, you get 100 times more siblings. It's like, again, if as we're, fathering our families and our kids are not becoming really close, it's not just, what's at stake is not just our family. We are corrupting their vision of the church. And again, we are corrupting the gospel as good news. How is this good news that we get a father, that we become sons, that we get 100 times more brothers and sisters, if we've destroyed this picture? And this is why Paul said, look, you guys have to really care for your marriage because you have to understand that you and your wife represent to the world Jesus' love for the church. Like we are living symbols of spiritual realities, and our families are those symbols. And so do we get to just endlessly play with these symbols, or do we need to actually restore what they actually mean?